Hello everybody again. Here we're going to be focusing on mixing purples using two-colour mixing. I've organised the colours so that purples are quite central. As you can see, it starts on this one, goes from orange right across to red in the order of hue. If you want to know more about that, I've done a video called the colour line, it's colour theory. But first, so I'm going to focus today on the how to mix cobalt violet. And see, cobalt violet seems very dark. So what I'm going to be doing is just identifying what kind of colour purple it is. Just by rubbing in the colour, you can see there's a kind of redness to the purple. So we'll call it a red purple. And what we're going to do is try and see if I can mix the violet, different shades of it. As they go darker, what I'll do, like all the other ones, all the other videos I've shown you, is that you start with the colour either side. So we don't use cobalt violet unless we want to use a complementary colour. But what we're looking for is two colours either side to get a slightly darkened colour. I'm going to go for the magenta as one side of it, and the next side of it is the ultramarine violet. Two really beautiful colours. Should get a really good cobalt violet with those two because they're so close. You should get more like a hue. In fact, you can mix your own hues in those colours. You can see it's almost as intense as the actual violet itself. If we rub it in, it's slightly more of the purple in there. I'm just looking at that, and it's just as good. It's a really powerful colour. So you can see still is really close to giving you almost a stronger colour as a cobalt violet. Now what I'm going to do is go a bit further away, ultramarine blue with the magenta. Again, I think you're going to get a really strong cobalt violet here. I don't think you'll see much change in the darkness of that. It's going there. So you can see it's too blue, so just a bit more of the red magenta in there, just to shift it back over. And I'm getting a slightly more blue, is it? Maybe just, or is it just a bit darker? But see, it's the same colour. So you know, if you want to get purples, ultramarine blue and magenta is okay. A colour really strong colour is the rose madder as well. That's one I'm going to go further away and just see what happens when I mix the ultramarine with that. Again, I think you're going to get this beautiful cobalt violet with those two. Is it slightly more of a grey? Yeah, it's just starting to lose its intensity there, and it's starting to look a little bit more subtle. What I'm going to do now is just go further away. I could stay with the ultramarine blue. Go for the rose cadmium red. I'm going to go for that. Put cadmium red, ultramarine blue. This is getting very close to the impressionist kind of way of mixing purples. You can see Cézanne using this way very close to it with a vermilion more than a cadmium red, but you can see that's starting to look a bit darker. Is that a cobalt violet? It's hard to tell as it starts getting darker like that. We can just rub it in a little bit. My judgment, it looks cooler, but remember sometimes when things get darker they look cooler, so it's hard to tell. So the best way of looking is to actually get a bit of black and just add a bit of black to it. I've got a bit of black here, and just add a bit of black to the cobalt violet itself and see what it looks like. You can see it starts to look like a cooler colour. It doesn't look like, you wouldn't believe that was this cobalt violet, would you? Straight away, just rub that in. When it starts, need a bit more black. Just get it, and just look at what happens to the colour. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've got the colour before. It's just that's got a bit black and a bit dirty in there. But that's one of the reasons why we use two colours, so keep it nice and clean. So next one is the vermilion. It's slightly further away. Stay with the ultramarine blue. Let's just see what we get. I mean, it might not be too different because cadmium red and vermilion are very close, but it's slightly more orange in the vermilion. Ultramarine blue again. It looks a little bit blue to me, so I'm going to put a little bit more vermilion in that. Now this is the one you see a lot in Impressionist paintings. They mix these colours quite a lot, a bit of white with it. And it looks a bit brown now. I've gone too far the other side, so I'm going to shift it over with the ultramarine back to the purple. And just have a look at that. Now again looks a little bit too, just a tiny bit more vermilion in there. Not much. And we're getting that's a darker version of the cobalt violet. It's getting close to grey now. I can put a bit of white with that, just see what kind of colour it is when you put white with it, which cools it down even more. Now, will we get the same colour if I put cobalt violet with black and white? Let's have a little test. Cobalt violet, black. More black, just to take away the colour. The white will kill it as well. And more white needed. More black, it's still a bit dead, a bit too colourful. And more white. Now see the colour I've got there, made mine too red. It should be a little bit more blue, so I can go back and just add a little bit of the ultramarine blue with that, just to get the cobalt violet. I'd overcompensated a little bit. Whoops, too strong as well. That's me being a bit clumsy. This is what you see. You've got to make sure you use tiny bits of colour. Go back to vermilion. That's it. Just a bit greyer than the one I've created there. And just a bit more, just to rub that in. Fingers are dirty. Let's try again. Just put a bit more. More ultramarine blue. This subtle colour going in there, that's fine, that's lovely. And just put some more white in there with that. That's spot on. Yeah, so using the black, that's using the ultramarine blue and the red. Difficult for me, but it's practice. You've got to practice. It's the same for it. If you practice, you get better. You get to know, you get more familiar what's happening with the colours and identifying the colours. It's such an important thing to do. It's a bit like practicing the scales when you're playing the piano. It's just a real good exercise to really get you tuned into colour. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you again. Remember, if you really enjoyed this video, just subscribe, and lots of other videos are coming in, similar kind of thing, dealing with colour and dealing with composition, dealing with space, ideas, things like that. So if you enjoyed that, please subscribe. Thank you. Bye.